Retirement is that exciting phase we all eagerly await, where we get to savor life without the weight of work on our shoulders. Yet, before you can fully relish your golden years, it's important to make sure you've done what it takes to retire comfortably. We're going to talk about that and so much more on today's episode of Elevate Your Wealth.
And now, Elevate Your Wealth with Mark Stimson and Casey Elkins.
Welcome into Elevate Your Wealth. Your hosts, Mark Stimson and Casey Elkins. You can find them at Elevated Financial Management right here in Seattle. And between these two, 42 years combined experience in the retirement planning business, helping hundreds of their clients get ready for their retirement. I'm Morgan Patrick, consumer advocate. Just a reminder, Mark and Casey are certified financial fiduciaries, and it's always about retirement planning here on the show. And we're here to help you. We open up, again, 10 positions on their calendar for the upcoming week. And these positions, these appointments, no cost, no obligation, simply no pressure. We're here to help. We'll tell you more about those appointments as we move through the show. So thinking about retiring in, let's say 5 years, you might be curious about what you can do to get ready for what is going to be an exciting next phase in your life. So the trick is to provide yourself with enough time to guarantee your financial security when the moment arrives. So we're going to talk about stages. So we're 5 years out, Mark. What should we be focusing on?
Okay, so really the first one that I have every client really dig in and get going is the importance of building an emergency fund. So to really kickstart your journey 5 years out from when you plan on pulling the trigger and saying, okay, I'm out, we've got to get something that's very, very important. It's crucial that you have this. You've got to build an emergency fund and have some cash reserves. Now, a good rule of thumb, we believe in our office is anywhere from 6 months to 12 months, depending on your comfort level. Everybody's number can be different, but how do you equate that? Well, what I would say is if you need $6,000 a month to pay your basic necessities, well, then you should have 12 times 6 is about $72,000 of liquidity in what we call the yellow bucket of your retirement savings. That's what we call bank inventory, money you're going to stash in the bank and have it completely liquid. Those, that really do a lot of planning believe that this safety net is going to come in really, really handy when the market is slumping once you've retired. So you want to have that cash reserve at all times. So here's a goal that you can set for yourself. And again, we're talking about being 5 years out from retirement. Make it a goal to save 10% of your income each and every month. I did that with my children when they had a paper route. They had to save at least 10 to 15% of each check that they got from the paper company. So you've got to do that. And you've got to put that into an account that you're earmarking for your emergency fund. It isn't money that you want to go and be able to get easily at every month and spend it on things that probably shouldn't be doing. You have a lot of wants and you don't want to use this money for your wants. You got to have a different bucket of money for that, which when you really think about it, that's the first thing you need to do. The second thing is you're going to want to max out your retirement plan contributions. So if you are fortunate enough to have a 401k at your work, we work with a lot of women and men from Boeing. They have a great plan there at Boeing, the VIP plan, and they get a match. And so you want to be sure that you're taking advantage of every dollar that you can get from a company, because both Casey and I believe that's free money and you're not going to get that anywhere else. So, but what's really cool is once you hit the big 50, you turn 50 years old, you're going to be able to have a little more that you can put in to your 401k or your IRAs or your Roth accounts. You can put in a little bit more. 6,000 or 6,500 this year goes to 7,500. So again, you want to be very cognizant of doing those maxing out of any of those plans before you retire. So if you do that, you're going to have a lot thicker, fatter wallet when you do retire, which is the goal I think everyone wants to have. So this, when you really think about this, Casey, that's going to bring up the next question. What's something else that you need to start to think about when you're 4 years out from retirement?
Well, this is really the time, right? And even, honestly, it starts even before 4 years. But when you're within 10 years to retirement, I mean, what happens in that time frame to your accounts, how you're saving, what the market does during that time frame, that will have a lasting impact on the rest of your life. So when you're 4 years out, I mean, it's crunch time. I know it feels like I got 4 years, I got time to figure this all out. But in reality, this is something that you've got to address sooner rather than later. Because if you do need to make adjustments, you need that time to make those adjustments. It'd be a lot better to be 4 or 5 years out from retirement and find out, you know what? Shoot, I'm not on the right path, right? I gotta deal with this now, than to be, oh, I'm retiring 2 months from now and find out that's not going to happen, right? So in reality, this is something that the sooner the better. You really want to be working with somebody, right? So it's one thing to sit down and do some of your own calculations. That's great. But ultimately, this is where a professional comes in. And this is not a pitch for Mark and I to say, come talk to us about this. That's not really what this is. In reality, what we're saying is you got to talk with somebody, right? Of course, we'd love for it to be us. But ultimately, at the end of the day, you have got to be working with somebody who can help you and have your best interests at heart and really give you a viewpoint that maybe you don't have on your own, or maybe give you some thoughts and ideas that you wouldn't have because you're not in the industry, or highlight those hidden things that just don't come up when you're looking at your own investments, at your own plan and how things are going. Then in addition to that, now's really the time to start dealing with debt, right? Yeah. So you don't want to go into retirement with a ton of debt. I mean, nobody wants to live their life with a lot of debt, but especially when it comes down to retirement, you've got to start living on a quote unquote more fixed income and making sure that your investments are keeping up with the income need that you have. Now's the time to start dealing with that debt. So you really want to deal with the high interest ones, whatever that looks like. Of course, if you can pay your mortgage off early, that's great too, or pay it off when you retire. Try to maybe time those two things together. But whatever you can do to lessen that debt burden is really helpful. And so that kind of ties up the 4-year aspect of it, but it moves us into the 3-year time frame, Mark.
So when we get to that 3-year mark, we want to budget for major purchases. Okay. So, and what do we mean by a major purchase? Well, if you have a plan to maybe want to get a new car, or you want to do some nice remodeling of a kitchen or a bathroom at the house, maybe you want to get some new appliances, all things that you deserve. We deserve to do these type of things. So we want to plan for these things, right? Get a lot of these out of the way and done while you're still working, when you have that paycheck each and every 2 weeks or every month, however you were paid. That way, you're going to have all of that stuff squared away when you do pull the lever and you retire. You know what? Because doing it when you have a check is a lot easier than having to budget for that when you're on a fixed income. And so we highly recommend getting these major purchases out of the way, or things that you want to do to the home that's going to take a big chunk of money. Try and get those done before you retire.
What we're going to do is give you an opportunity to get on the calendar with Mark, Casey, the team at Elevated Financial Management. These appointments, there are 10 of them, are no cost, no obligation, no pressure. We're talking about the retirement crunch time. You're 5 years out. I loved what Casey said. Really, you need to start thinking about this when you're 10 years out. But if you're 5 years out, definitely get some of this stuff done. But the opportunity to get on their calendars going on during the course of this show. We're opening up the appointments right now, 866-668-3625. That's 866-668-3625. That will grab you an appointment. But we've gone through 5 years out, build the emergency fund, max out your retirement plan contributions. Then when you're 4 years out, work with a professional, make sure you're paying off your debt. And then you get to 3 years out. If you've got major expenses or purchases, I should say, go ahead and make those when you're 3 years out. Guys, now we're at 2 years out. Casey, this one to you. Updating that estate plan is key.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, you can't forget about this aspect of it. I think it really does get put on the back burner for a lot of folks. And, maybe it's not a fun topic to talk about healthcare proxies and power of attorney and beneficiaries and all that kind of stuff. And we get that, right? But ultimately, this is still very important. It's not step one when it comes to having a successful plan and building things out properly, but it is a very important piece to the puzzle. You really should be reviewing these things regularly, right? This is something that your life is changing. Your power of attorney may change from what it was last year. Now, ideally, it's not changing all the time, but this type of thing does come up, right? And things adjust. If you have your children listed for these different things, maybe things have changed in their lives and they're no longer the best fit to take care of those different items. So you want to make sure that everything is set up properly. And ultimately, we talk about this a lot, that really for the circumstance being that you save these dollars, you've set everything up for yourself. But if that money is going to be left behind, you want to make it as easy as you can for the ones that you love, so that during that hard time, they don't feel like their back is against a wall and they've got to make a bunch of decisions they're not ready for.
So, guys, before we get to 1 year out, because there are some very key points here, let's go ahead and take a break. We'll come back on the other side and we'll give you what you should be doing if you are very, very close. You're on the doorstep of retirement. But, Mark, we've got those 10 appointments. Tell us what's going to happen for these 10 callers.
Yeah, so if you've been listening to this show today, please pick up the phone and give us a call. Our team of certified financial planners are going to look at your specific situation. So if you're within 10 years, as we talked about, 5 years, or you're ready to pull the trigger, please give us a call so that we can look at your income. Is it guaranteed? Can you count on it each and every month? Casey mentioned, budgeting. Do you have a plan for all of your income, your bills, your cash flow? We want to do that analysis for you. But another big one that we believe gets left behind a lot of times by the people that help you accumulate your assets is the tax planning that's going to be needed now when you retire, because, boy, there can be some torpedoes, what we call tax torpedoes, that will hit you. So please give us a call. Let us put together a certified financial plan for you that you're really, really going to enjoy, and it make a difference in your retirement.
All right, we've got 10 appointments, Elevated Financial Management right here in Seattle. They're complimentary. Call now, 866-668-3625. That's 866-668-3625. When we return, we'll talk about your on-retirement's doorstep, things you need to be doing. It's all coming up next. Welcome back into Elevate Your Wealth, hosted by Mark Stimson and Casey Elkins. You can find them at Elevated Financial Management right here in Seattle. Check out a great resource website, efmnw.com. All letters, efmnw.com. Again, TV show links are there for you. Radio podcast links are there for you. So check out efmnw.com. 42 years combined experience for Mark and Casey, again, helping hundreds of their clients get ready for retirement. We're going to give you an opportunity to work with these fiduciaries on your retirement situation. Again, those 10 appointments are now open. They are complimentary. You can call at any time, 866-668-3625. So we were talking about retirement, and I'm going to use Casey's term, crunch time. I love that. Retirement crunch time. You're 5 years out. What should you be doing? Building that emergency fund, maxing out your retirement plan contributions, and then also 4 years out, work with a professional, pay off your debt, and then budget at 3 years out, budget for major purchases. If you're going to make a big one, you got to do it maybe around 3 years out. And then 2 years out, you update your estate plan. That is vital. So now, guys, we find ourselves a year away from retirement. Mark, I'll start with you. What should we be doing 1 year out?
Well, at this stage, you're really going to want to get it dialed in as to your income sources. And one of the first things would be, if you're going to be fortunate enough to have a pension, which right now only 10 to 12% of retirees are going to be fortunate enough to have a company pension. They're a thing of the past, really. They're becoming a dinosaur, and yet it was a really good dinosaur to have if you're fortunate enough to do that. Now, one of the things that does happen when it comes to pensions is you have some big time choices as to what type of annuity, because all pensions are annuities. Some people don't realize that. Do you want to have a survivor benefit? If so, how much? Do you want your spouse to get 100% of what you were getting during retirement, or 50%? There's a lot of other choices. So you need to know what you're doing in this regard, because if you make that decision and it turns out to be wrong, you don't get to go back and fix it. It's all over. It's like set in stone. Now, what about Social Security? When should you turn that on, right? We hear that all the time. Well, I'm 62. I want to get my money now, instead of waiting to maybe 66 or 67, depending on your birth year. So you need to get that figured out. What you're going to want to do is also maybe check with any employers that you worked for prior to your last employer. Find out if there's any benefits you might be leaving on the table. You want to find out if you've got any unclaimed benefits. I'd like to just say that in our state, Washington here, I was able to find almost $2,000 on the unclaimed property side of things on some compensation I was given almost a decade ago. And it was there, but I had never checked it. So I highly recommend check that, because you might be pleasantly surprised that there could be some money in that account for you. Then you want to get all of your retirement documents, get them, and have a place that you can store them. It's really nice if you can store them electronically as well. You're going to need to look at different decisions you've made. So those documents are going to be really, really important to you. So you need to keep copies at home. And like I mentioned, if you can put them in a digital format, that would be great as well. And then what's the last thing, Casey? We've done that. Now, what do we do when it comes to retiring?
You got to celebrate.
That's it.
Yeah, it's exciting, right? I mean, this is, I think maybe sometimes too, we get so caught up in it, right, Mark? I mean, this is what we do day in and day out, helping folks retire. And we get into the nitty gritty. We get into the details to make sure that this is going to be successful. This is important to us, just like it is important to our clients. But at the end of the day, this is all for a specific reason. It's to retire. It's to enjoy that time with your family, to do the things that you want to do, spend your golden years doing all those things that you've been waiting to do. And so you got to celebrate, right? I mean, it's time to put away the work and everything that you've done, not only secularly, but also the work that you've done planning, right? Kind of time to put that away a little bit and just be excied about where you're moving to. You want to add something?
Yeah,
to that?
we're just going to say that you can go from a 16-ounce Frosty mug to a 24 now.
There you go. That's it. Yeah.
It really is time. I hope everybody, we want your retirement to be fun. We can't overemphasize. There's so much more that we do in our office than just the money. It's so important to figure out what you want to do, when you're going to do it, what's a plan, what if the other spouse is working. We're going to talk about these things, but it's so much to retirement planning versus just what's going to happen with the money.
And so many folks, I think, just get caught in this idea of, can I do it, right?
Yeah.
Is it possible, right? Can I do it? And sometimes, you know, we deliver these plans for folks and we show it to them and we show them it's doable. And still sometimes it seems like the message doesn't quite land, right? Because it's sometimes you got to dip your toe into it a little bit,
Yeah.
right? And so that's when we start talking about hybrid retirements and things of that nature. But, I think from our perspective, it's so rewarding to be able to give somebody a plan, show them that it's doable, and then have them to see that excitement on the other side of the table, like, I'm going to be okay, right? I'm going to be able to do this. It's going to be successful. And we wish we could come celebrate with every single one of them, right? We can't always do that, but it is exciting to see that. And it's really important to step into retirement with a positive outlook and be excited about what's coming next.
You know,
I think, hold on, Morgan. I just want to say one thing to this is, and Casey mentioned it, we find it so hard to get clients that have been great savers to become spenders. Mm-hmm. That's really what this all boils down to, is giving them, it's almost like we give them permission to start spending their own money, right?
Yeah.
It shouldn't be that way, but that's how a lot of clients feel about this. And so once they get and see it, like Casey mentioned, I can do it. I got the money, the math works out now. It's amazing when the confidence is there, how they will go out, and it's so much easier for them to want to spend money versus not knowing. And then they die and they got all this money and they didn't do what they wanted to do with it.
I love that, the confidence to retire. Just have that confidence, and it takes a plan. Opportunity right in front of you right now for our radio listeners. We have those 10 appointments. Again, they're complimentary. If you've saved $250,000 or more towards your retirement, these strategies are going to work best for you. Again, with Elevated Financial Management, meet with Mark and Casey and their team and talk about your retirement situation. Again, the number to call to grab one of the appointments, 866-668-3625. One more time, 866-668-3625. We've got some time, so I wanted to get into this Go Banking Rates survey that's out. It's a new one. Whopping 75% of Americans feel like inflation is going to be messing with their plans for retirement. It's messing with their plans saving for retirement. So we wanted to get into how to handle the inflation side of this, guys. Casey, let's start with you. I mean, it seems simple, but just save a little bit more.
Yeah, this seems to be one of the big things that folks are doing. It seems like the most popular move to be able to deal with this, and I think it seems like a no brainer, honestly, right? To save more, so you've got that cash. But I want to give one caution when it comes to it as well. Save that money. That's important, right? The more you can save, the better. But if you're just leaving it in a low yield savings account, inflation is still crushing you, right? So you've got to still be strategic with what you're doing. It's good to save that money. It's a good first step. And we're not encouraging taking big risk and putting it all in the market and hoping for the best. That's not what we're getting at. There needs to be a plan, a strategy. But ultimately, CDs are a great option right now. There's also the option of a MIGA, which we're not going to go into details of each of these things. But I think the point really is to have that conversation with somebody who can help you. I think it is interesting here. The study showed 30% of Americans are stepping up their efforts to stash more in cash. And then the strategy seems to be very popular with a younger crowd, with 41% of folks aged 18 to 24 saving more for retirement, and 33% of those aged 25 to 34. So the younger crowd sees that. And I think ultimately, I fall into a younger crowd than most of our clients. And so that being said, I think we owe a debt of gratitude to those before us to see how they've done things, to see how the market, the economy, those things have affected their retirement. And that's something that the younger generation is learning from, which is great. And so it's really important to pay respect in that regard. But that kind of brings us to something else, which is delaying retirement, Mark. I mean, we see this quite a bit. That's not necessarily anything new, but it is a big one.
This is important. I was surprised at this study. Almost 20 are going to delay retirement because of inflation. It's taking so much just to live. We've talked about our lunch, but usually you could get $9 or $10. Now it's $20 just for a lunch. So when if you can delay retirement, boy, that's going to be a big benefit to you. And there are a large majority of our clients that are getting ready to do that. Some of them want to continue to work. Others, they're being forced to do this because they don't have a pension and they got inflation that's gone through the roof over the last couple of years. So again, you have to have a plan for this. And boy, we can't recommend enough why a written plan and being able to take income from different buckets can make all the difference in the world, especially when we're dealing with this type of inflation.
Well, we've got the 10 positions on the calendar with you guys, and these are complimentary appointments. Casey, walk us through what's going to happen for these 10 callers.
Well, for those that are willing to pick up the phone and give us a call, this is a written plan put together by our team of certified financial planners. So I think in reality, what it really boils down to is retirement is all about options, right? You want to have control as you move towards retirement. The more that you have a plan in place, the more control that you have, the more options that you have, and the ability to make adjustments and actually live the retirement that you want to live. So with that retirement plan, we're going to talk through the taxes with you. What are taxes going to look like for you? How's that going to affect your retirement? We're going to talk about how you're invested. So many people don't truly understand how they're invested, or maybe they're limited by their 401k. We're going to talk through that and help pull back the blinders so that you understand what's going on. And then ultimately create a positive roadmap from where you're at to where you'd like to be to make sure that you're successful to and through retirement. So don't hesitate. Pick up the phone. Give us a call.
10 appointments, and they're available right now. If you've saved that $250,000 towards your retirement, these strategies are going to work best for you. The number is 866-668-3625. That's 866-668-3625. We're back right after this. Elevate Your Wealth. Your hosts, Mark Stimson and Casey Elkins. 42 years combined experience in the retirement planning business right here in Seattle. You can find them at Elevated Financial Management. Again, helping hundreds of their clients get ready for retirement. They're certified financial fiduciaries. I'm Morgan Patrick, consumer advocate, and we go back and forth on the retirement topics each and every week. We also give you an opportunity to take action on your own behalf. If you have not started planning, or you're in the middle of something and you're frustrated and you just got questions, you're not getting answers, you can get a second opinion. We have 10 appointments. They're open now, and again, they are complimentary. All you got to do is call 866-668-3625. 3625. If you've saved $250,000 or more towards your retirement, these strategies are going to work best for you. 866-668-3625. Now's the time to kind of figure out how to create a tax-efficient retirement where you can max those deductions, the credits, while minimizing the taxes. And we've got some strategies to help you position yourself for tax efficiency once you do retire. So, Mark, let's start with the all very popular consider a partial in-service rollover from your 401k plan.
Yeah, this is something a lot of people aren't even really familiar with. So it's called an in-service withdrawal agreement. And about 70% of the 401k plans in the United States do have this provision. And what's cool about it is if you've reached the critical age of 59 and a half, if you're not 59 and a half, well, this won't work. But this is what an in-service withdrawal agreement will allow you to do. And this is, I like to use Boeing as a great example here. They will allow their workers, if they want, they can roll out of their 401k plan with this agreement, and they can roll into their own IRA. Why is that something to consider? Well, it's going to really give them a lot more options of where to put the money inside that IRA. You have a lot more investment choices inside an IRA than you do inside a 401k. It's very limited, and a lot of times you don't have any safe options inside the 401k. But if you're still working, the nice part is you can continue to contribute to the 401k, get the match, move the big chunk of money, if you desire, into an IRA that you can protect a chunk of it. We can do some tax planning with that. So there's a lot of good reasons to set up that IRA if you have that in-service withdrawal agreement, which a lot of people don't have, or, they're limited. So you
have more control.
That's right.
That's what it is.
That's
you got more
what
control.
It boils down to. It's more control. Thank you for putting those words in my mouth. I needed that.
Cut to the chase.
Yes. So that's the reason why we want to do this, right? Now, there's another thing to really consider here, Casey. Why do we want to consider maybe doing a Roth conversion?
Well, ultimately, I think everybody's concerned about taxes, right? I mean, and rightfully so. We look around, we understand that right now, the national debt is at an all-time high. We're concerned about where the economy is going, what the market's doing, inflation. I mean, there's so many things going on. And so when we think about that, the national debt, ultimately, they're going to pay for that through taxes, right? They can either stop spending and deal with the taxes they got coming, but I think the chances of them stopping spending are pretty much slim to none, right? So, yeah. So that being said, if we choose to pay taxes now at today's current tax rate, we're essentially dealing with taxes when they're on sale. I mean, that's the reality of it. We know that taxes are going up. We know that current tax law sunsets in 2025. And so that being the case, if we believe taxes are going up, why would we not choose to pay taxes now? Yeah. If we do a Roth conversion right now at this moment, when we're in one of the greatest tax windows that we will likely ever see, if we deal with that now, then we don't have to deal with higher tax rates later, right? So that's really what this boils down to, is just trying to lessen the taxes overall. And again, it comes back to control. That doesn't mean that you have to be the financial expert. That doesn't mean that you have to manage your own plan. That's not what we're talking about when we say control, but really just you having the ability to make those choices, to invest how you see fit, to deal with the taxes now, if you like, if that makes sense for your plan, and ultimately build a plan for yourself using the help of an advisor, right? That's really what it boils down to. So, converting to a Roth, I mean, the value in that is very, very large. And it's something that, again, is situational. It's not the right thing for everybody. It's not the right thing for every circumstance, but it's worth having a conversation about. And it does take a little bit of time to get that taken care of. But ultimately, I think if you look back 10 years from now and you realize, yeah, I did a Roth conversion then, and I took advantage of the tax rates at that point, and I'm so glad that I did. I mean, that's the circumstance that the majority of our clients are going to fall into, because they're dealing with this now, like I said, when taxes are on sale, and that's really the key. That kind of pulls us into the next thought here, which is considering life insurance.
Yeah, this is something that a lot of people, we will say at workshops and our clients in general, do not know very much about. It's confusing for them. They believe if their mortgage is paid off, they don't even need life insurance anymore. And we believe life insurance is absolutely probably the best way to move money to our children or grandchildren because of the leverage that you can get. So there is a lot to this. In fact, a life insurance is set up to be a retirement vehicle from an income standpoint is like a Roth on steroids. We've talked about this before. A lot of people, if you've got 10 to 15 years and you can put that into a plan right now, if there's no match that your company's given you, we would highly recommend that you look into a universal life plan that's designed for wealth accumulation and tax-free benefits on the back end when you take it out, because you can borrow that money out, withdraw the money out, and it's completely 100% tax-free. Now, you may need a death benefit. We don't know your situation, but there are so many advantages to life insurance. You want to know what your options are. Now, permanent life insurance can come in several different varieties. We know there's variable life, universal, whole life, and these hybrid policies that are designed to help us with long-term care needs, because Casey knows how I feel about long-term care. That's the reason I'm in this business. I watched my grandparents lose pretty much everything financially, except for the farm, when my grandfather got Alzheimer's. And, today, not having something to be able to draw on if you have a bad event happen, a stroke, dementia, what about mobility issues? These things can blow up a great retirement plan if you don't have a way to deal with the exorbitant cost that long-term care is today. And these hybrid life policies can be such a wonderful tool to help us deal with that.
Talking about strategies, again, lowering that tax burden during your retirement, you need to plan ahead for this. And the key word there is plan. The opportunity to talk about your situation, maybe go over a tax strategy, look at your portfolio, have an appointment complimentary with Elevated Financial Management and go over these things. We have 10 appointments available for the upcoming week. All you've got to do is call 866-668-3625. If you've saved $250,000 or more towards your retirement, these strategies are going to work best for you. The number to call to grab an appointment, 866-668-3625. So back to our strategies to possibly lower your tax burden in retirement. We've already talked about a partial in-service rollover from your 401k plan. That's a consideration. Consider maybe a Roth conversion. And then you just heard Mark talk about just life insurance and the different forms there. A lot of people don't think about that, but it's an opportunity and it's worth that conversation. So, Casey, we'll go back to you on this next one, and we're going to use the A word, right? Consider.
Here it comes.
Here it comes. Consider fixed index annuities. Explain.
Oh, you've said it now. We're all in
did.
big trouble. Yeah. Annuities get a bad rap. And I think ultimately I'll just say this for those out there that maybe are doubtful of annuities or things of that nature. I think ultimately any tool used in the wrong application is the wrong tool, right? I mean, it's not going to fit right. It's not going to do what it's supposed to do. If all you have is a hammer, everything looks like a nail. If you use an annuity in the wrong circumstance, it is not going to do what you want it to do, and you're not going to be happy with it. But an annuity in the right circumstance and using it to produce guaranteed lifetime income, I mean, people love that, right? At the end of the day, your Social Security, your pension, those are annuities. And nobody ever complains about getting a pension check or a Social Security check, right? I've never had a client say that to me. So using an annuity in the right circumstance, again, to guarantee lifetime income is really going to be a big benefit for your retirement plan. Again, if you take to the internet, I think at the end of the day, you can find anything to support anything on the internet, right? Whatever crazy, wild thoughts you've got, there's something out there that supports it. But this is where working with a professional that can help guide you, has your best interests at heart, and can create a collective plan for you will really be such a positive. So just to hit the highlights for the annuity, it will protect from market downside. If you think about it, when you go to take income from your IRA accounts that are invested in the market, if the market goes down, can you still take the same amount of income? If you have a 40% loss in your investments for a 12-month time frame, can you still take the same amount of income and live worry-free in retirement? I think we all know the answer to that. That creates a lot of concern, and rightfully so. But if we're using an annuity that produces guaranteed lifetime income, we know what that dollar amount's going to be. That gives us the confidence to do what we want in retirement and to go live our golden years. Mark, how often we sit here, one of the first things we ask our clients is, what do you want to do, right?
Yep.
What do you want to do in retirement?
Exactly.
And the dollars are important. The finances are important. That's why we're here. But what do you want to do in retirement? How many times has a client said to you, well, I'd really like to get up and check the stock market every morning and see what inflation is doing? And nobody's ever said that, right? And that would be crazy if they did. The point is an annuity helps you get away from that. An annuity helps you produce the income that you want, that you need, so that you can go live your golden years. And that's what all of this is about.
I just very quickly, I sat next to a guy on a fishing trip, and I asked him where his income was coming from, and he proceeded to tell me he has 3 pensions and Social Security.
Wow.
And it ended up being, about $13,000 a month, and it just goes into his checking account each and every month. He doesn't have to think about it, and all he does is plan what he wants his life to do, right? And so when you have the income, that's all that matters, about income. And boy, with that, he's got the type of retirement that I would love for every one of our clients to have, because he doesn't worry about anything.
Well, Mark, let's open it up. We've got 10 spots on your calendar. What's going to happen for these 10 callers?
Please pick up the phone and give us a call. Let us put together a plan. If you've been thinking about retirement, you're within a few years, no matter where you're at, give us a call. Let our team of certified financial planners put together a plan that's based on your specific information. Maybe you're retiring from Boeing or any one of our great local companies here. You need to talk to somebody because you don't have any kind of tax plan. Nobody's brought that up to you. What about being able to draw on different types of money from different buckets at different times? If the market's down, you don't want to be having to get money out of your stock or bonds, right? If those counts are down. So you need a plan. So please pick up the phone and give us a call so that we can help you with that plan that'll make all the difference in your retirement.
All right, here's the number, 866-668-3625. That's 866-668-3625. If you've saved $250,000 towards your retirement, again, these strategies are going to work best for you. 866-668-3625. When we come back, retirement scenarios. Elevate Your Wealth, hosted by Mark Stimson and Casey Elkins. You can find them right here in Seattle. Elevated Financial Management, 42 years combined experience in the retirement planning business, helping hundreds of their clients get ready for retirement. They're certified financial fiduciaries. I'm Morgan Patrick, consumer advocate, sometimes referee between Mark and Casey, but it's always about retirement, and it's always about making sure you have a plan as you move forward, and we're all headed towards our retirement. So it's now time for some scenarios, and what I'll do is I'll give the scenarios to the individual. We'll see how they do with these. And Mark, you're going to be up first. Here's the first one. I have a little over $50,000 to invest. I am currently 62. I want to retire in 3 years. Investing in a CD used to be a good idea, kind of is now too. Now they're not so sure. Are there any low-risk things that I can put my money in, at least maybe make something more than, say, the bank rate? I don't need the money anytime soon, but Mark, I would probably think that there are a lot of good options here.
Yeah, there are some very good options that I think a lot of people listening today may not know about. I think CDs can be a really good thing right now because rates have, gone basically through the roof compared to where they've been the last probably almost 15 years. CDs were not good. Now, I will say this. This is where tax planning, I think, matters. The trouble with the CD, in my perspective, let's say you can lock in a 5% CD for the next 3 years. The problem is you're not going to net 5% because even though, and let's use $100,000, we know that you're going to make $5,000 over the next 12 months. Well, you're not going to net that, or your yield won't be that, because you're going to have to pay tax on those dollars, even if you've not touched them. to spend them. You will still get a 1099 from the bank. You'll declare it, that interest as income, and have to pay the tax. So we are big believers in anything we can help our clients do to reduce their tax burden. We want to look at that. And this is where the A word can come into play, because there's what we call some MIGAs, multi-year guaranteed annuities. And right now, I just did a client, we set up a 3-year MIGA, and his rate is almost 6%, but that is going to be 6% net, because he's going to get the full 6%, not going to pay tax on the front end or each year as you go. Now, he will have to pay it on the back end when a distribution is made, but he's still going to come out ahead because of the simple compounding that those dollars that were sent to Uncle Sam by using a CD stayed in his bank, and he gets paid on those dollars. So it will still be beneficial to have a tax plan. And this is where the annuity is so good on non-qualified money. You don't have to pay tax each year like you do if I'm in a CD. So that's a really cool place to go to give you an idea, besides just using a CD, which I do like the rates right now. They've come up. It's a really good place to go if it's short term, maybe a year or less, 6 months. You're going to spend that money. Then a CD can be just fine. Again, this is where having a plan and being able to draw money from different buckets as you need it can really make a big difference to us from a tax perspective. And that's why we are so geared to help our clients do tax planning.
Well, I mean, think about it. You work with a professional, you work with a fiduciary, and you're going to talk about all these things. What are you going to do? How are you going to make it to and through retirement? It's nice to have a retirement coach along with you. And if you're out there and there are a lot of do-it-yourselfers, man, there's so much to think about, consider, and there's stuff you're not even gonna even get close to as far as maybe what you should do. So have the conversation and the opportunity to get on the calendar with Elevated Financial Management for a no-cost, no obligation, no pressure appointment where you can kind of kick the tires, start asking questions, kind of dip your toe into the retirement planning pool and see if you like the temperature. This is your opportunity. They're open now. 866-668-3625. Again, if you've saved $250,000 or more towards your retirement, these strategies are going to work best for you. The number, 866-668-3625. We're hitting retirement scenarios. The next one, Casey, to you. I'm going to turn 73 in July of this upcoming year. I know I have to start taking my RMDs at that time. I'm currently in the 12% tax bracket and have $125,000 in my IRA. Can I do a Roth conversion to lower the amount of the RMD and still maintain the same tax rate? My income is just over $70,000 annually.
This is a good question, and it's one that we actually do get a fair amount of. What's really kind of being asked here, I think, Morgan, is can I take my RMD as a Roth conversion? That's kind of the question, right? If we sum it up, that would be really nice, but the IRS won't let you do it, right? That's the nuts and bolts of it, right? If we got down to brass tacks, the reality is that if you have to take an RMD for this year, you've got to take that RMD. And then you can do a Roth conversion, but you cannot take the money from your RMD and do that as a Roth conversion. That money has to come out of the account just like normal and take it into your bank account or put it into a brokerage account or do something with it, but it cannot find its way into a Roth via like a Roth conversion. Now, let me give you a scenario. Let's say you have a $10,000 RMD that you have to take for this year. If you take that $10,000 RMD, you then could convert anything beyond that. If you want to convert $10,000, $20,000, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 for that year, you can do that. But the RMD has to happen first. So in this given circumstance, doing that Roth conversion for this year would not lower the RMD for this year, but it would potentially lower RMDs in future years by doing that Roth conversion now, right? So again, the reality here is this is where working with somebody who understands these details and can talk you through it and help you see the benefits, the pros and the cons, and understand both sides of the equation is really important. And also making sure that when you do that conversion, that it really is going to be beneficial in the long run. Because depending on what your income might do over the years, that conversion may not make the most sense in your circumstance. It may be the greatest thing for you. It may not, but it's very, very situational. You've got to be willing to have that conversation. You want to add something, Mark?
Yeah, I was going to say, and this is where a couple of things I would also need to know. Number one, are you filing as a single filer or is it joint? Because then if it's joint, you're married filing joint, we can stuff the brackets. A 12% bracket has a lot more room in it with a married couple than it does a single couple. And so we want to try and keep you in a reasonable bracket. But even if that bracket is 22% or even 24, sometimes doing that, paying the tax now versus what's coming, I think we'd all agree it's going to be higher. I don't think anybody in their right mind would say it's going to be lower. So if that's the case, why not stuff as much into the bracket that we can afford to do pay tax at the lowest rate you're ever going to see, because that's really going to create some planning tax-wise that can really help you keep more money in your pocket instead of it going to Uncle Sam.
Retirement scenarios. And again, there's so many different ones, and we talk about so many of them in the course of this show. There might be one that's similar to what you're going through, but it's not exactly what you're going through. And we emphasize that, having a retirement plan, it needs to be customized to you because your situation is unique. And you need to have a plan just as custom. All right, so this next one, Mark, I throw to you. We'll start with you on this. I'm recently divorced, retired at 67. My ex-spouse previously handled our finances, and in the split, I wound up with just under $250,000 in an IRA, $127,000 that's in an indexed annuity, and that's about all I know. What kind of advisor should I find to help me into retirement, and how do I know I can trust them?
This is something that I think everyone begins to think about, even if you're not divorced. Your retirement planning starts, right? Hopefully at least 5 years prior to retirement. And like Casey's mentioned earlier, maybe 10 years out. So what do I do? And we talk about this all the time. We just finished our book and called Break the Glass about retirement planning, because there is such a difference between the accumulation advisor and the distribution advisor. And so you want to find somebody that specializes in distribution coming down the mountain, because all the other wirehouses, if you bring up taxes, they'll tell you what? They're going to tell you to go see your CPA or your accountant. They won't touch the tax piece. And we believe if you don't have a tax piece as part of your plan, it's not going to work like it should. You need it to be like a well-oiled machine, and taxes have to be considered a big part of that. And so what type of advisor? Well, we believe working with a fiduciary is critical, but I've said this all the time. Bernie Madoff was a fiduciary. How'd that work out for everybody? But a true fiduciary is going to always put your interest first, and they're going to always wanting to do what's best for you and your specific situation. So please look for somebody that's a fiduciary and is also specialized in retirement planning, not just wealth accumulation, because there is a massive difference in that regard. And I think, when you think about that, that's really going to bring us to what do I do if I want to retire at 62, Casey, and maybe my pension won't start for a few years? What do I want to keep in mind when it comes to that?
Well, ultimately, if let's say you did retire at 62, and I think I know where you're going with this, Mark. Let's say you did retire at 62, and the idea is I've got to pull income from somewhere. So either I pull my Social Security starting at 62, which is technically early and a reduced amount, or I can start taking income from my investments and let my Social Security continue to grow. And we get that a lot, right? And it's something that we consider a lot for our clients, that we spend a lot of time talking through to make sure that we've got it set up correctly. But in reality, the thought is this, and this is where we typically lean, is if you're going to retire at 62, and we know that taxes are low now, and most of your money in your investment accounts are in accounts that have not been taxed yet, why would we not potentially look to pull income from those accounts and let our Social Security continue to grow grow at a stated rate. It's roughly going to be about 6% annually up until 67. Beyond that, it's an 8% growth rate annually. So that being said, that really could be beneficial. Lower your taxes, increase your income, and be a big positive for the overall plan.
Scenarios in the books. Now, opportunity in front of you. We got 10 spots on the calendar with Elevated Financial Management. Casey, walk us through what's going to happen.
Well, for those that are willing to give us a call, we're going to offer a written financial plan put together by our team of certified financial planners. But here's the key. If you've been listening to the show for any period of time, I think you know what we're all about. At the end of the day, it's always about retirement. It's about helping folks to and through retirement to be successful. And that's ultimately what that plan is about. We know that over the years that we've done this, the hundreds or thousands of plans that we've put together, we know that that's what's needed, is a plan for you to be successful in retirement that's going to address taxes, address your income, deal with healthcare, all those things that are lingering, wandering around in the back of your mind that wake you up, that you worry about as you move towards retirement. That's what the plan is designed to address. So don't hesitate. Pick up the phone. Give us a call.
Yeah, get some confidence, folks, as you move towards retirement. Have a plan. Here's the number to call, 866-668-3625. If you've saved $250,000 or more towards your retirement, these strategies are going to work best for you. Here's that number again. Call it, 866-668-3625. Another edition of Elevate Your Wealth is in the books. For Mark, Casey, I'm Morgan. See you on the radio next week.
Investment advisory services offered through Foundations Investment Advisors, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor. The content provided is intended for informational and educational purposes only. The views, statements, and opinions expressed herein are those of the individual speakers and not necessarily those of Foundations and its affiliates. The information contained herein does not constitute an offer to sell any securities or represent an express or implied opinion or endorsement of any specific opportunity, offering, or issuer. Any discussion of performance or returns is not indicative of future results. Each individual investor situation is different, and any ideas provided may not be appropriate for your particular circumstances. Foundations only transacts business in states where it is properly registered or excluded or exempted from registration requirements. Registration as an investment advisor is not an endorsement of the firm by securities regulators and does not mean the advisor has achieved a specific level of skill or ability. No legal or tax advice is provided. Always consult with a tax professional. All rights reserved.